You're now listening to All Hog Sports, covering all Arkansas Razorback sports, such as football, basketball, baseball, and much more. Now, here's your host for today's show, Sam Stimpson.
Getting ready for football season, 4 days away. We've previewed all of the offense on the show here, all of the defense. So that leaves us with special teams. Apologies if my voice sounds a little bit off or if there's any errors. Feeling a little bit under the weather, but I wanted to make sure to get the special teams preview out because tomorrow we'll be previewing the Rice game. Now for kicker, the starting kicker was named today, and it's Cam Little, the number one high school kicker per 247 Sports composite recruiting rankings, and Fountain said in spring camp he kind of struggled a little bit. However, by the end, he was really good. He was 2 for 2 in the spring game and has looked fantastic in fall camp. During the first scrimmage, he hit field goals from 37 yards, 46 yards, and 52 yards out. And something the coaches were talking about is how Pittman runs this drill where they are like near the 30, 35-yard line, and then it's like fourth down and they're going to kick a field goal. They rush the kicker out there and put him like almost a high-pressure situation that would be closest to the game. And Cam Little has done fantastic in that. Fountain has said he's doing better on kickoffs as well. The ideal kickoff this year will go through the back of the end zone. And also, just a consistent approach for Little this fall. Done good on that. Fountain said that Coach Walker worked with him a lot on adding some weight to his frame, so he added about 18 to 20 pounds since he got on campus in January, and really just making field goals, kicking them out of the end zone should be high priority and should be accomplished by Cam Little. Now, last season, Vito Calvaruso did a lot of the kickoffs. I'm not sure if he'll do them this year, but you'll still have two kickers travel to each game, so that'll be Little and Calvaruso. I'm pretty confident in Little. I think he'll be a very solid kicker and should accomplish anything that an average or likely an above-average kicker should be able to do for the unit. Now for punter, Reed Bauer was named the starter today. He averaged 43.5 yards per punt as the leader last year. He had a high punting grade around the low 70s per Pro Football Focus. And with kicking and punting, outside of like the initial kick, it's more about formations than anything. You got to have guys doing their duty and doing their block. And last year, the reason that special teams struggled was depth. And the reason that we had low depth was because of COVID. You had opt-outs. A lot of guys who were being on special teams were getting called up to the main team, or vice versa. You know, they were on special teams and they opted out of the season or something like that. I do expect a better year from Fountain. You know, he has a very good track record of highly effective special teams units in kicking and punting before this year. I do expect to see that again, especially with Cam Little. I think that was a huge pickup, and then returning Bauer as well. Top 5 punter from last year statistically. And like I said, it's more about formations than anything. And also, you don't have to construct your roster on Friday night, which will make it a lot easier for Fountain to game plan and such. 9 games last year, and then he added 7+ yards on his punt average from the 2018 season when he had, I think, 58 punts, and he had 39 last year. And really, anywhere from like 43, 44, 45 maybe is a good range for Bauer this year. Not worried about punting with him there. And then backup is Sam Loy, who averaged 35.2 yards on 5 punts last year. He will be the second punter to travel with the team. Now, the guy snapping it to the punter would be long snapper Jordan Silver, one of the top returning long snappers in the entire nation here. Had a 68.5 grade last year, according to PFF. He also appears on the NFLPA Collegiate Big Bowl for seniors. And what he was talking about that he does best is he's consistent, he's accurate, and he has a fast snap. All three things should provide good enough timing and consistent approaches from Bauer and Little to be an effective unit. Now at the backup spot, you got Francisco Castro or John Orline. John Orline emerged during fall camp a little bit, and Silver's kind of talk about how he's Mr. Positive. So maybe you bring him on the road trips because he's got that little bit extra, but Castro is also a solid long snapper. One of those two guys will travel, and the first road game is week 4, so Arkansas still has a little bit of time to figure that out. Now the holder for field goal units will be Reed Bauer, the punter, as well. At kick return, you got Ladarius Bishop. He ran a 4.35 out of high school. No previous experience, but with that speed, he should be effective from deep. And then you got Raheem Sanders as well, taking kickoffs, also known as Rocket, as a reason. 6'2", 225. He's built like a linebacker almost. He's fast, he's quick, and the running back too. Ladarius Bishop is the cornerback too. And then punt return, you got an or with Greg Brooks Jr. or Nathan Perotti. Brooks Jr. is the nickelback for this team, and he said he went up to Fountain this year and said, hey, I can return punts if you need me to. And he's been working on just being a consistent ball catcher and then adding something dynamic to after the catch so you can average anywhere from ideally 10 plus yards onwards. And then Nathan Perotti, he's a speed star, mainly a special teams guy. The main thing about all these special teams unit is going to be formations, just being consistent, really. Bauer, Silver, and Little are 3 top options, and you just have to have guys who can do their duty of blocking when they get called up. If they, start on the 2 deep on defense, just having guys at depth positions, and I think the team improved on that with transfers and getting guys back from injury last year and just things on that nature. No more dealing with COVID that much, if at all any. You'll have a more consistent roster. Team management will be easier for Pittman and Fountain this year. So I do expect a rebound on special teams. Now that is all for today's episode. Y'all know the deal though. Tomorrow, previewing the Rice game, September 1st. Make sure to listen to that one. But, as always, woo pig suey.
That's all for today's episode of All Hog Sports with Sam Stimpson. Make sure to stay tuned for the next episode covering all Arkansas Razorback sports. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media too. On Twitter and Instagram at All Hog Sports Pod. Like on Facebook at All Hog Sports and Arkansas Razorbacks Podcast. And on YouTube at that same name. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Go Hogs!